Imagine the most beautiful color in the entire universe, and then tell me what color you imagined. If you mentioned any of the colors you've ever seen, surely you can imagine a more beautiful color, right? If you can't, surely someone else can. In fact, if you tried, couldn't you imagine the existence of a more beautiful color than you've ever even previously thought of? So, what if I were to borrow a similar better than all others concept to designate this most beautiful color imaginable, the God color, and define it as the one and only most beautiful color imaginable by any mind in all the universe? How would we know whether or not this God color even exists? Have you seen it? What if I were to tell you that we've all seen it? Could I prove that to you? How about I give it an insincere try? Remember, this is just to make a point. Now, realistically, aren't all colors beautiful to someone? And don't at least some people seem to have very limited imaginations? So it could be suggested that perhaps every imaginable color is the most beautiful color to at least some hypothetical person, if not to an actual person, and many of the colors you know are probably the most beautiful color imaginable to some real person in the past, present, or future. Doesn't science tell us that the color white is just a blend of different color hues? And can't some color pigments be mixed to look like other colors? If I show some shade of red to a person who just happens to have seen that particular red before and thought with their mind that it was the most beautiful color imaginable in all the universe, wouldn't that fit the definition I gave earlier for the God color? True, it's also a red color, but remember that if there's only one God color, and we found it, there can't be another. But would it really fit the definition, or wouldn't it? I'm not saying it would. I'm asking, wouldn't it? I didn't say it had to be the most beautiful color imaginable by all minds combined, but rather that it had to be the most beautiful imaginable by any mind. And that person would, of course, need to have a mind in order to think anything at all, right? Actually, it would not fit the proposed definition of a God color, unless it was the only color that could fit the definition, which should be obvious is not the case. Because by definition, there can only be one. If anything fits the rest of the definition, it must be the only thing that does, or else the definition cannot be describing anything that actually exists, physically or otherwise, but rather a self-contradictory concept. So what if I showed another person a particular shade of green, which to that person's mind was the most beautiful color imaginable? Wouldn't that also be the God color by the same definition? Wouldn't that imply that red and green are in fact the same color? Of course not. If it did, then that would mean not only there's just one most beautiful color, but that there is only one color, because every color would be the same color. The one and only unique and omnipresent God color. Some people do see things that way. It's called blindness. Imagine a world where people walked around seeing the same beautiful but imaginary color literally everywhere. Imagine them insisting that you can see it too. Imagine them telling you it's all around you and impossible to miss. And that if you claim not to see it, you must be evil because the God color is good, but mysterious, and therefore cannot be seen by evil people like you. Everywhere they look, they claim to see God. The color of an apple, that's God. The color of their neighbor's dog, that's God. The color of vomit, that's God. They see someone vomit and they point at the mess and say, "Look, it's God." You tell them, "But your God looks like vomit to me, and I don't see it as God like you do." To which they reply that what you're saying is blasphemy, and you're going to be eternally tortured if you don't take it back and admit that you see God everywhere, just like they do. What would such a person see here? Nothing but God, of course. What would they see here? God. Who would they see here? Nobody but the one and only true God, obviously. Of course, you should have noticed by now that this is in fact a metaphor for what some monotheisms teach, which is actually much more ridiculous and harder to swallow than even this God color nonsense is. But somehow, they manage to keep convincing gullible people that the vomit they're spewing is absolutely the most beautiful thing imaginable in all the universe. Those who are not blinded by such lies can see through them. But when we point out the evidence of what they're missing, they call us evil.